What's up? My name is Tim Sykes. That's my car. Come on in. So I wanted to give you a little glimpse of my lifestyle. You know, I work hard, I live well, and what you should know about me is that I like to go big. This is a big house. Sometimes I stay in big presidential suites. When you work hard and you make a lot of money, you know, you gotta go big. Yeah, okay, I'm done with that. Whoa! So let me show you where I actually spend most of my time. This is basically what I do all day. Just looking at stocks, researching stocks, and then teaching other people. Most traders lose money in this industry, but with a community of actual successful traders behind you, you can do a lot of things that never were before possible. So it's kind of my baby right here. I'm very proud of it. You know, it's not the normal 9 to 5. Sometimes I'm working 10 hours in the day. Some days I don't even work. So it doesn't matter where I am. All I need is the internet, and I can work from anywhere in the world. I mean, I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades now. I got started when I was young. I've reached all my goals, and I'm not afraid to show it off. You know, once you make it, you should show it off. But I'm never stopping challenging myself. I'm always looking for more students. I'm looking to create more millionaires so that more people can have views like this. This is why I love this place, okay? Just look at this, you know? Financial freedom is the goal for everybody, and it should be, because once you have that, you can do whatever you want. You can travel the world, you can get big places like this. That should be your goal so that you can really, really focus on what you love in life and not work for somebody that you hate. Thank you guys for coming over. I'm glad you got to see a little bit of the way that I live, the way that I work, and you know, some of the fun that you can have when you work hard. See you later. So it's not as scary as a lot of traders where they have these huge swings. Sometimes they're really right and sometimes they go broke. I'm never gonna go broke because I'm so quick on the out. I woke up today at 4:45 in the morning. We're filming in LA.
You made 20-something% of your money.
Correct. It actually wasn't even 3 days. It was the weekend, so the stock market is closed. So I'm always just looking for catalysts.
So Fridays are good days.
Fridays are beautiful days, if the story can spread over the weekend. Right. I had my biggest day. Let me show you this. You want an inspiration here. You have Fridays off, right?
Yep.
So this is all the same kinds of patterns as when I first started too. There was a Chinese blog that wrote about me. It was kind of crazy. They put like Chinese characters on it, but I guess this'll work. So this is from my book. This was when I was a freshman in college. This is year 2000 when I made, at the time it was my biggest year ever. I made about $700,000 as a freshman. I had 3 fake IDs taken away from me. I was a virgin. I couldn't get into any bars. And I made nearly $1 million in Boston. Each one of these candles represents one day, okay? So every single day in 2000 was a crazy time. It's uptrending, it's uptrending. I'm only interested in it when it starts breaking new highs. On, I think, Friday morning, ISCO put out a press release saying, we are gonna be on TV. I don't know if it was MSNBC or CNN. They said, we're gonna be on TV Sunday night. Okay, and this company, if you did research back then, remember like cell phones weren't very good back in 2000. There was a lot of fuzziness, there wasn't good range. So they had a product that theoretically could take the fuzziness out of your cell phone. Amazing product, right? Didn't turn out that way. It was total fraud or total lies. I don't care. The TV crews ate it up. And on Sunday, and I was stupid back then, I bet basically $250,000 when I was a freshman in college, or I bet $175,000 and I was worth $250,000. So I'm putting 3/4 of my net worth in over the weekend betting that this TV thing would be positive. The fact that the company previewed it, I figured, hey, why not? Back in 2000, I didn't know about short selling. I was kind of a dumb, I was like Forrest Gump. I was very lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. On Sunday night, I'm watching the TV program. They say it's the next Microsoft. They say this is how you get rid of your cell phone fuzziness. So I'm thinking, I'm in 10,000 shares at $17 a share. Normally I trade lower price stocks, but this one, back in 2000, I didn't have these rules. The television program was positive. I bought I thought maybe it'll go up to 20 and I'll make $30,000. There was no pre-market trading back then. Now, the stock market opens at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, but you can also pre-market trade it at 8 a.m. Eastern, which is 5 a.m. California time, which is why West Coast sucks for stock trading. Back then, no pre-market trading, so it just kept going up pre-market. I can't even sell. I wanted to sell. I would have been out at 20, but it kept going to 21, 22, 23 because of all the buy orders of people who watched it on TV. By the time the stock market opened, the stock was at 27. I'm like, sell, sell, sell. I can't sell. There's so many buy orders, they're not even accepting any sell orders. By the time I got out, it was at 29. I made over $120,000 as a freshman in one day. The next day, it goes up to 40. I don't care. I made 6 figures in one day. That was my first 6-figure profit. And then look at it. Look how it collapsed. So I'm always looking for these kinds of catalysts. Are you going to be on TV? Are you written about on CNET? Whatever it is. But because now I understand that most of these penny stocks fail and they're scams, I'm really good at short selling them and betting that they go down. As long as there's volatility, that's all I need. Just something that's moving. I'll show you this. This is actually funny. This is Shaquille O'Neal, who sent me a cease and desist letter over this. So sometimes you have stocks, I don't know if you know Shaq, but this is kind of funny. So sometimes penny stocks are promoted by celebrities and athletes. And the athletes, I'm sure you guys have been approached by different companies. You get shares, you get cash, whatever. Just put your face on the company mailer. So Shaq agreed to this. And so, there's pictures of him. There's different stuff. Charles Payne also was involved with this. He's on Fox. And so they send out these mailers to unsuspecting people, financially naive people all over America, especially the Midwest. Can you see when the mailer was going out? Each one of these represents one day. Remember that. So every single day it's going up because they're sending out mailers to everybody. And I had a conference. This was back in like 2008 when I first began teaching. I had a conference in Vegas probably around here when it was around $2 a share. And I was like, this stock is going to collapse. And it just kept going up for like 2 weeks after. And everyone's emailing me. They're like, you know nothing. You're an idiot. You said this is a scam. This is going to go down. Eventually, it does go down right here, all in one day. Because sometimes when you have these promotional mailers, when they're going out every day, when the next day that they don't send out those mailers, no one's buying. Did you ever see the movie Boiler Room? It's like that, where Shaq didn't know what was going on. He does a lot of penny stocks actually. So he used his face. The company promoted it, and then all in one day it collapsed. And I was actually, look at my little ad. Weirdest trade ever. So in one day, when these things collapse, I was actually at Whole Foods with my ex-girlfriend. Every single day, it's going up, going up, going up. Look at this. In about 15 minutes, it drops from $3 to $1.75. The company gets cut in half. And then a week later, it's down to 25 cents. Because people pay a certain amount for the promotional mailers. You have to pay postage. You have to pay for producing, for printing and stuff like that. Once the budget of a promotion runs out, there's no more promotion. And I love short selling these. So I bet against this one. 10,000 shares, roughly $20,000, or right here, 10,000 shares at $3.49. So I used $34,000 to bet against it. And in 15 minutes, while I was at Whole Foods, wasn't expecting it at all, drops to $1.94 and I made $12,000. So you can go,
Bet against it.
Correct. I didn't know exactly when it was going to collapse, but I knew that the promotion was stopping because you can track, especially now using the internet and chat rooms and message boards, everyone is saying, okay, I'm getting promotional mailers, I'm getting promotional mailers. And then you start seeing fewer and fewer posts. So you can see that the budget is running out. So it's not a question, will this company succeed or not? It's a question of when will the mailer budget run out? And this one, when the mailer budget runs out.
That's one of advanced technique that you have. That's not something, right?
I mean, it's not an exact science because sometimes they stop sending out the mailers and then the mailers come out a few days later. So you never know, so the mailers came out, they stopped, or it wasn't doing anything, and then they did another round. So you have to be careful sometimes with that. But this is the same kind of catalyst. I like to buy stocks that have news, and people see the news and get basically lured in to buy these stocks, or I like to bet against these stocks when there's no more promotion.
Right. So for a beginner like myself,
Yeah.
right, and you have these students.
It's better for you to just buy.
Right, but to simplify it, right, you're buying, you're kind of basically jumping on the bandwagon when you see
Momentum.
not only, the news is pumping it, but the momentum of the stock.
Correct.
Right, because before I understood what you were saying is, I don't care exactly what's going on in the world.
Correct.
But kind of we do, because we're listening to what they're pumping up of this stock, and you just only want to be in just for a little bit, just to get a little.
I'm conscious of the world trends, back in 2000 when there's fuzziness in your cell phone. I can understand that. Anybody can understand that. If you hear about that at dinner, if you've seen that on TV, that can travel very quickly. And social media didn't really even exist back in 2000, so it didn't spread that far. But everybody who saw it on TV was interested in this stock the next morning. But at the same time, I don't care what the overall market is doing that Monday. So again, it's nothing. None of this is an exact science. I don't win every time. I win roughly 75% of the time. Most of my wins are very small. But sometimes I nail it like this. And this is what, I'm at Whole Foods and I'm making over $10,000. And Whole Foods actually has a little internet cafe. So I was up there and I dropped the eggplant. I'm like, I got to trade. And my ex-girlfriend is like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
So I used to prioritize trading over life. Now it's kind of flipped a little because I trade small. Because as good as this is and as cool as it is, you can't make a lot of money. You can't make 100 million with this strategy because these companies are too small. You can make a few thousand, you can make a few hundred. That's why it's great for people who just want to make a little money here or there, or part-time traders or stuff like that. But that's why Wall Street always looks down on penny stocks and me, which is fine. I don't want to compete against all the PhDs. I don't want to compete against billionaires. They're smart. These are people who are buying this know nothing about the stock market. They just see Shaq's face on the promotional mailers and they're buying it. And they don't look at the red flags of this company.
So as far as like the big boys, the reason why they don't deal with this is because it's not really that much money.
Correct. It's for $3,000 in a day. I mean, I've had brokers where they have little signs on their cubicles, and it's like the goal is to make $3,000 today. And they're pitching stocks up or down. They just get their commissions. So if you work on Wall Street, $3,000 a day is the minimum that you're going to make. Okay? With this, $3,000 a day is probably close to the maximum. So it's just not worth it for anybody who lives in New York City to trade these kinds of stocks. New York is fucking expensive. Okay? So you're competing against a lot of financially naive people. And that's where the advantage is.
You say for yourself, in your technique, the normal average person, if they would dedicate themselves a week, say a couple hours a day, if that, you can average what per day?
I mean, it just depends. It really depends on the market, and it depends on the plays. Sometimes there's absolutely no plays for like a day or a week. That hasn't happened in the past few years. I've gotten fat just because I haven't had a day off. But if there's a bear market, you might have a week off. It's about waiting for the plays. It's about understanding how the plays work and waiting for them. And then executing. You're like a sniper. If you ask a sniper, how many people are you going to kill today? It's whenever they have a good shot. You don't take a shot if you don't have a good one. So that's what this is all about. I was trying to find this. I did this analogy with Dennis Rodman. I have this picture where it's like Dennis Rodman versus Mini-Me. And they were playing like this charity basketball tournament. Where was that picture, Joey? I don't know. This was it. So this is basically what penny stocks are, Are these guys going to ever dunk on Dennis Rodman? Fuck no. You have a clear advantage. And these are pretty much penny stock traders, these little midgets, right? And they have $1,000, $2,000 to their name. They don't understand the catalyst. They don't understand the techniques. They're just buying it like it's a lotto ticket. 99% of people who trade penny stocks, they're just like, I don't care if I lose 500 or 1,000 because it's a lotto ticket to them. But if you come in there with strategy and you're a sniper and you pick your targets on the way up and on the way down, you have an advantage. and on every single trade. And the vast majority of the way that I've made now over $4 million, the way that my top student, Tim Bertani, has made $2.7 million is 1,000 here, 2,000 here. Every now and then, when there's a perfect play, you make 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. Right. But you got to start with the small ones to understand the big ones. Right. It's the exact same trades, you're just scaling up on size. When I'm buying a stock at 5 and selling it at 6, if I make $5,000, okay, I have 5,000 shares. If I can do the exact same trade with 50,000 shares. So that's kind of the opportunity, to make a few thousand here or there. And that, frankly, would be very useful to a lot of people. 90% of traders lose money. So it's not like I'm picking an industry where there's so many winners. Almost everybody loses money because they're not diligent, they're not meticulous, they don't treat it like this game, like a sniper.
Well, I think from listening to what you're saying, I think 90% of them lose because of greed. Because
greed and lack of discipline.
Basically that's what that greed comes from, right?
Rule number 1 for me is cut losses quickly or get out if it's not doing exactly what I want. People can't do that. There's a term called bag holders because they keep holding. They hold and they hope. So this is another company, Cool, nailed this in the chat room from basically $1 to $2.25 for an hour. They announced a special dividend. The company itself doesn't have enough cash to even pay for the dividend. So if you look at it, you're like, this news is bullshit. But it spikes up for an hour and then it comes down. A lot of people who are buying this just hold and hope. So if you buy this at $2 a share and it's down to $1.25, you've already lost 40% of your money. What are you going to do now? You're going to hold. Maybe it'll come back up. And it rarely ever does.
Like, is it possible to buy at 2 o'clock and sell at 2:30?
100%. You can hold it for as long as you want or as little as you want. Right. Usually I'm trying to buy a catalyst to hold over the next day. But sometimes, even if my goal is to hold the next day, I'm out because something the stock is doing isn't making me feel comfortable. You are in control of when you can enter and you can exit. So you have total control. It's just a question, can you control yourself? And that's not always easy. If you're down, if you bought this at 2 and now it's down to $1.25, do you exit? Or maybe a lot of people double up and they say, let me average down. So they buy it at 2 and then they buy it at $1.25 and now their cost basis is $1.60. And then it goes down to $1 and they're like, fuck, it keeps going against me. Let me double down again. And it's this endless slippery slope. So I don't want you guys to ever get into that. From day one, I don't, even though I lose 30% of the time, my losses are so small. Today I lost like $15 because I exited when I wanted. That's it.
It's simple. I mean,
it's not.
Well, if I'm just saying, I'm thinking it from a psychological perspective, right?
Yeah.
Where in life, right? In basketball, put it that way. You don't know if you're going to make the shot unless you take the shot.
Correct.
Right? What shot is a good shot?
Yeah.
Right? What shot is a bad shot? Do I shoot the ball? Can I just pull up for 3 in the first quarter? Or is it a bad shot in the third where the momentum is not against them? It's like so many, the analogy of it for me is starting to make so much more sense.
So there's so many different options. I mean, you can shoot from all over the court, but where is your highest percentage shot? Where are you in the game? Does it make sense to take a 3 if you're only down by 1? No. Why would you take a shot where you have a 30% chance of winning when you can drive down the lane, maybe get fouled, or take something where you have a good hook and you have like a 56% shot of winning? So it's about choosing your shots and understanding where the opportunity is. If you are down by 3 with 5 seconds to go, it doesn't make sense to take a 2. You got to shoot the 3.
And another thing too, I was thinking about it, especially in the beginning for me, not so much for him because he's worked in, but it's just about being as conservative as possible until you really get comfortable. So then after a while, you think about it, right? After a while, if I do make a shitload of money in the next couple of years in this, then I can say, you know what, I'm gonna take 100,000, I'm just bet on, I don't care if I do lose. Like that, you can gamble if you wanted to, but in the beginning, if you wanted to try to become rich, it's just not the smart thing to do because, right?
So look at this. So this is called paper money. So Thinkorswim is a brokerage from TD Ameritrade. You can just open up a practice account. You don't have to bet any money. And a lot of people start with this because you're practicing to see, are you better at buys? Are you good at holding for an hour? Are you good at holding for a day? Stuff like that. And this way you can practice. There's no risk. It's a fantasy stock market, basically. And a lot of people do that.
Do you have Ameritrade and E-Trade?
I don't use this, but I know a lot of students who do.
Do you have a
No,
trade?
no. So
You just have E-Trade.
I use E-Trade and Interactive Brokers because I mainly short sell, so I mainly bet on stocks going down. In order to bet on stocks going down, your brokerage has to have shares available to short. TD Ameritrade is not good for shorting. Interactive Brokers is good for stocks under $2 a share. E-Trade is good for $3 to $10 stocks. But this is just an example just to show you the practice. Even Tim Grittani, who took $1,500 and now $2.7 million in 4 years, the first 6 months he lost rather consistently. He lost 20 bucks here, 50 bucks here, 70 bucks, but he's working on it. The sports analogy that I give all the time is Pete Sampras. You're familiar with Pete Sampras? Great American tennis player. So early on, and I think it was his coach was either Tim or Tom Gullickson. I always get it confused. Early on in his teens, he was a top-ranked American, but he wanted to take his game to the next level, and he didn't know how to do that. His coach had a crazy idea. He said, Pete, just hit the ball as hard as you can every time. Don't worry about where it goes. And Pete's like, but I'm not going to be able to control it. And he listened to his coach. He hit all the balls as hard as he could. And people are like, you're fucking crazy. You have no control anymore. His ranking dropped. I think he was like third or fifth in America, and he dropped to like 100th or 200th because he didn't have any control. But gradually, over 6 months, over a year, he was hitting the ball as hard as he could. He was practicing his swing, and gradually he found his control. And because he practiced that way, he shot up all the way to #1, youngest winner of the US Open ever. So to get to the next level, he actually had to drop back and practice his power shots, which is kind of weird. Like normally you think that you can make incremental gains, but sometimes you need to go for an exponential gain. So a lot of my trades, I'm making 1, 2, 3%, and a lot of people are like, oh, you're not making any money. But then you wait for that one good trade and you make 25 grand. I'll give you another example. This guy who's actually going to be on Steve Harvey with me, Good Trades. So he's a crazy looking guy, but he's actually fantastic. Oh, come on. 5 seconds. So this is his website, and he shows off his trades. I like showing all the trades publicly too. I'm a big believer in showing it. So these are all his trades. So he makes 20 bucks, 23,000, loses 100, loses 25. Wait, what? Look at all of his trades. They're all small trades, and then one trade he makes 23,000. Okay? This is my first millionaire student, Michael Good. And this was a pump and dump, EURI. That
He had 3 in one day.
Yeah, sometimes he does 3. You know, it varies.
His entry was 31 cents and he left at 32 cents.
So this is, so he's in and out for a penny because the stock didn't go his way. So he makes a penny, he loses a penny, it's a scratch. The vast majority of his trades are scratches. But then he has one where he makes $23,000. And you don't know which one of these is going to be the 23,000.
Right, help me understand that second one because it says 45
in 17.
And then you exited 17, so he was betting down.
Correct. He was betting against it. So this is a blatant pump and dump. This is EURI. So as we talked about, the Shack mailer, that's just one. There's always companies that are being promoted with mailers. This stock went up from 25 cents to $2. Okay? So 8 times your money in a few days because the mailers are getting sent out. Then the mailer stopped. Okay? And it comes all the way back down. So he takes a short position. He starts betting against it at 45 cents.
So it's the same concept as when you start seeing it go down, that's when you start...
Correct. When the mailers stop. Correct. Because now the mailers have stopped. And a lot of people are still, who bought because of the mailers, they're just holding and hoping. Maybe there'll be more mailers. Maybe. My name is Tim Sykes, and I teach people to trade stocks. I am a self-made multimillionaire. So this is the ideal trade that I'm going to talk about. I want you guys to understand every single aspect of this trade